Aloha, everybody. Thank you for that wonderful welcome. Put a little timer on. Keep myself honest. So the bio part was pretty good. I don't feel like I have to explain too much about who I am. But what I kind of have is just kind of a timeline set up so I can kind of talk about how my journey unfolded, what led me to the vow in the first place, and some of the things I kind of learned along the way. So, as Anne said, yes, I was born of arranged marriage in a Christian temple, and I knew nothing of that life because soon afterwards I was pulled away from that and I was raised by my maternal aunt. So I have no memories whatsoever of being in that situation at all. But what I do remember and what I do still have some feelings of is that separation from being pulled from my mother. And it created this angst and this anger in me that I just didn't know how to cope with. This went on for years and years and years. I went through the foster care system before I was taken in by my maternal aunt, and there was some abuse there that kind of added to the fuel as it was in terms of the things that I just didn't understand. Why was life unfair? Why was I not with people who really cared about me and loved me? And how come I didn't feel the presence of spirit and God? And why did nature not do for the things for me back then that it does now? You know, I just felt very uncomfortable just being me, and I didn't feel like I had any of that stillness. I couldn't find it. And so I always felt like I had to just be doing something, and that caused me to just feel like I was always in this whirlwind, this turmoil. It wasn't until I was about 11 that I begged my parents for a saxophone. There was somebody who was playing it at school, and I was like, wow, I just love the sound of that. It moved me in a certain way that I couldn't explain. We didn't really listen to music at the house. We didn't do anything except for maybe watch sports or barbecue or what have you. And so that was something that I begged them for. I begged them all summer, please, 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 can I have a saxophone? Please, please, please. Finally, we got one. And I was so motivated and so devoted to this new thing because all of a sudden now I'm breathing in a new way. I'm using my diaphragm. I'm able to focus on something for long periods of times. And I found meditation and just doing one of the simple techniques that we have to do as we're musicians is long tones. You just sit there and you play a note for as long as you possibly can. And I found my stillness in that, even though I was actively engaged in doing something. So it was through that I found myself to be more calm. Apparently I was a terror in elementary school. All the teachers would remember me later and talk about how I never thought you would amount to anything because you're always so angry, you know, biting kids or getting into fights and this and that. And then once junior high hit and I was playing the horn, everything changed. All of a sudden I was, a student of the month, and I was leading others, and I started giving lessons to my peers and started performing around town, and people just saying like, wow, like, oh, my 4-year-old wants to do what you do now because they saw how in love you are with what you're doing and how you're spreading joy and all of this. So that was kind of my saving grace with this metal piece of instrument that was in front of me. So when it became time to go to college, I felt like, well, there's only one thing that I should do. I should keep spreading that for other people. I should find a way to continue on with the lessons that I've learned from my private teachers and from the public system and all that. And so I went to school as a music major for performance, jazz performance, classical performance, and music education. I was the first one at Cal State University Fullerton where they decided we're going to let you triple major. It was a huge amount of work. I was taking something like 40 units a semester. It was ridiculous. So for those that you don't know, that's maybe 3 times a normal load. It was really intense. There were some things that happened during that time in my lifetime that I just kind of kept feeling like I was getting bombarded by negativity. My aunt and uncle who raised me, they passed away, and I fell into this really deep depression. And I didn't find that the saxophone anymore was doing what I needed to for me as it was. And so I decided I need to find something else. I need to seek. I need to find truth. I need to find why it's okay to play this instrument. What is it doing not only for me but for everybody else? And so I decided, fine, I'm going to ditch all of that. I'm going to continue performing, but I'm going to be a philosophy major. And so I finished my career there at Cal State Fullerton as a philosophy major for 3 years. And I finally was able to come to the terms yes, it's okay to do this as a profession. It's okay to continue to grow in this way. And it's not just something that's mundane. It's not just something that's just selfish as it was. So seeking truth. Then all of a sudden I started finding that I wanted to find truth in other things. I had become a master of the instrument, and so it was no longer finding the technical things that I needed to. It was how do I emote this idea better? How do I connect with people more in terms of this and that? So then I found that I needed to go beyond even the instrument, right? So then I started finding spirituality in action. I came across different herbs and how they would make me feel differently, like lavender, how it would calm me down, or thyme, how it would kind of make me feel more energized in this. So I was seeking those, and then essential oils came from that. And then I just was amazed by how it made me feel like a oneness with nature, cedar oil, how it made me feel so grounded, something I hadn't really understood in the past. I went on to start fasting, and I was like, wow, my mind feels so much more centered, and I can think more clearly, and I don't have all this racing thoughts anymore. And then I read something about grounding, like, oh, if I just walk barefoot, that's going to be a thing. So that there I was running all throughout town without shoes on, and people would stare at me like, what are you doing? And like, well, try it, And so I was spreading the message that way, and I found that it was just so cleansing and helpful for me to just be doing these different things. I was trying to find my stillness. That message before was so resonating with me right now. Like I feel like that's not what I had. I had to be in motion. I had to be doing something and doing it in action. The next thing I found that I wanted to reconnect with the Christian temple and with my mother. She passed away, and I felt like, well, I've been kind of putting that away from myself for so long because it kind of hurt, and I just didn't feel like I could open my heart to that. And I talked to a friend of mine, a guru, who was like, if you're not going to accept that, if you're not going to accept that part of your life, you need to change your name. Because if you present yourself as Bhakti, people are going to be like, oh, they're going to have certain expectations. So I said, okay, I'm going to feel into that. So then for 8 hours a day, I would listen to mantras of just different Hindu beliefs and things. And it totally changed my thinking. All of a sudden, I'm just walking around doing casually whatever, and I'm hearing the mantras in my head, and it was like, oh, this is what prayer is supposed to be for me. This is my in-action way of being able to be closer to God. And so that was pretty amazing. And then I kept moving forward with different things, like, oh, what's the next thing I can do to kind of expand my awareness or feel more connected to everything? And that was cold water therapy. Oh my gosh, I hated that. But I would just jump into the ocean in Santa Barbara, and I would do the thing that I needed to do. And I was like, wow, I don't need a wetsuit. I feel more alive. I feel more connected. I can feel the energy of the dolphins now. And it was super amazing to me. And then sound therapy. I was like, oh good, finally. Now I can incorporate all the things that I've been training for all these years. And so then I came across isochronic tones, and I found that, oh, this is a new way to kind of entrain my brain to kind of get to states that monks take all their life practically to get to be able to get into that quiet place of meditation. I was still doing things while I was listening to these things. I was walking around with headphones on and all that, because I just couldn't couldn't sit still and do any of this. I couldn't meditate. I couldn't visualize. I couldn't close my eyes. So I had to go through that. Breathwork was the next thing, which scared me. The first time that I did an intense breathwork session, I felt like my body was leaving. That was it for me. So I put that on hold for a couple of years. And then it came to, okay, so now living as Bhakti, I need to come into devotional service. So I started going around town, and I would just play the saxophone for random people on the street. I would go and I would play into homeless communities and things like that, not expecting anything. I would still get tips from randoms coming by. I would give all the money that I got from that to the first cup that I saw that needed it. And I would go around town all over the place. I'd pick up trash, and I would find that there were like thorns that were coming out into the sidewalk, and so I would break those off with my hands. Destroy my hands in the process all the time, but I felt like I needed to find something to do that was beyond just what I'd been kind of focusing on for myself. Then it came to gratitude prayers, being thankful. Oh, and my favorite one was when I finally came to understanding the nature of water and how it can transform, and how loving the water loves myself and loves everyone else. And so I started having a prayer that I would say every single time, and I found that it helped with manifestation. Friendship, love, respect, friendship, love, respect, friendship, love, respect. Something that I taught to my son, and he does all the time now for his food and his water. It transforms that. It creates it into spiritual food for me. And it's something that I was like, yes, yes, yes. Like this is the thing I wanted. When I did that, then all of a sudden I felt more content. I felt like things were happening. When I would just think about them, like, oh, I wish I need a hat. It's too sunny out. Oh, what? Here's a hat. Cool. Those kind of things would just started magically happening for me. It was amazing. The next thing I felt was I need to get rid of some of this fear that's just been set inside of me. That I don't know where it came from. I'm sure some of it had to do with the abuse, some of it with the separation anxiety that I had. And so I decided to do something very bold. I had my apartment for one more month, but I decided, okay, for this next month, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go sleep on the beach. I'm gonna see if I get arrested. I'm gonna see if somebody messes with me or whatever, and I'm gonna try to see if I can detox all this radiation I've been gathering my entire life from too much technology or what have you. I did it. The first night was super terrifying. Nothing happened. Nobody cared. No police came off and escorted me away or anything. Oh, this is really amazing. So I spent 30 days with no bedding, no extra comforts, no warmth or anything, and just slept on the beach. And I did it basically without as little clothing as I possibly could, so I could really just kind of get rid of all that electromagnetic radiation. It was amazing. I felt connected, I felt energized, I got rid of any fear of anyone else or any kind of looming kind of problems as it was. After that, I decided, okay, what's the next thing? Well, my apartment's about to be done, what should I do? I'll just let it go, whatever. And then I was like, well, what about all these things that I'm holding on to, like all these trophies and awards? And I had probably something close to maybe $30,000 of random instruments that I hardly ever play, like extra flutes and saxophones and things like that. It's like, okay. So I ended up just started giving those away to friends or selling them and then giving the money to other people. I just don't want to have any of this extra stuff that's just weighing me down. At that same time, a friend of mine's like, oh, well, I need you to come, I need you to get off the beach, I need you to stop being like that. And he didn't understand what I was kind of pushing forward with. And he said, here, come live with me. I need you to come with us. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of trying to do my own thing right now and feel more like in nature and stuff. He's like, no. I have a place for you. Come with me. Okay, if you really need me to help you. And he wanted me to help him with just life lessons and like how to kind of transform himself. And so I said, okay, fine. All right, where's your house? He's like, oh, here it is. This van right here. What? Okay, fine, I guess so. So I started living in the van with him for about a week. And then he gives my bed away to a friend of his. And I'm like, wait a minute, what are you doing? I thought this was our situation. I was so angry. I was so upset. And I couldn't stop swearing. I was cursing everything, the heavens, it just word vomit coming out of me. And I was like, this is a problem. I am offending the angels, I am offending the universe. And that's when I decided, I need to change this. I cannot have these knee-jerk reactions where I kick something and all of a sudden, I'm on some kind of sitcom show. So I decided, I walked in the rain for about 12 miles. I went to the Mission that was in town, Sambor Mission, one of my favorite places to go and just look at the water there. They have a really wonderful water fountain. And I went there and I sat and I stared at the water. And I was angry again, things that I hadn't felt in a long time. I felt betrayed. I was very confused. And a monk comes over to me and he says, oh, I remember you. I've seen you playing for the homeless in the different parks and things. And I really appreciate what you've been doing. I said, oh, wow, that means a lot to me. Thank you. I said, I've been kind of struggling with some things and trying to find different ways to not be so angry and to kind of let go of some of these things. And he said, well, and he started telling me about a practice that his order had where they would do a 1-year vow of silence. And they would just be in their monastery and they would try to have, as little kind of communication with the outside world as possible and just kind of staying within their brotherhood. And that resonated with me. There were certain movies that I'd seen throughout the years too that seemed kind of like a romantic kind of idea, like, not speaking to be able to hear the sound of a whisper better or what have you. And so I said, I think that's something that I want to do. I want to be able to change my life. I want to be able to think differently and interact with myself differently. The way that I was interacting with other people was fine, but the way that I was interacting with myself and the thought processes that were going, I needed to change. So I said to him, okay, when the sun goes down, I'm not going to talk anymore. And that's going to be it. A couple days later, a friend of mine had come into town. He said he was going to be going on tour. He was going to go to LA and all these different places and just performing. And somehow I pantomimed to him that I wanted to join his ensemble. And he's like, you're on silent, aren't you? And I was like, and so I started touring around, mostly California. We play festivals and things like that. And I wasn't talking at all. It was during that time that I had a huge rush of energy going through my body. We call it a Kundalini awakening. And all of a sudden I was just flopping like a fish randomly, where the energy was just too much and I couldn't control it. And some people would see me and they'd be like, are you okay? They think I was having a seizure, and I would just smile at them and give them a thumbs up. And I would try to communicate with that one. At one of the first festivals that we went to, I met the love of my life, Brianna, over here. And I wasn't talking at the time, and I saw her from a distance, and it's a little embarrassing, but I remember seeing her from there over the distance. I was like, oh wow, that's wife material. I want to get to know her, but I didn't see her at all during the festival. Apparently she heard about me, that, oh, there's this performer out there, he's on silent, he's amazing, blah, 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 whatever. After the festival, I ended up going with the band to the saloon in Joshua Tree. And she happened to be there as well, and she motioned over for the band to come on over. And we had an instant kind of just a bond. She could understand everything that I was saying without saying it. It was like the first 2 weeks of me not talking, and I would try to and nobody got it, but she's like, oh, this is what he's saying. So somehow there was some telepathic connection that we already had. Later we learned, oh, it's probably because we've been together for thousands of lifetimes. But. So before all of that, though, I'm reminded that there was a time when I wasn't talking where I would just do these walking meditations, where I would just be monitoring in my head, and I would walk for, the most was about 15 miles a day. And I would totally blank everything out that I was doing. I was walking by Venice Beach, or these different areas that were really gorgeous, but I was just kind of keyed in and just focused on my inner like love, just kind of spreading out. And people would kind of like bow to me when I was walking by. I wasn't wearing anything special. I was just kind of in the zone, I suppose. And they could all kind of really feel that. So that was pretty amazing. Well, the band started not being able to perform anymore. For some reason, there was a lack of gigs. They weren't promoting very hard, and so I was like, okay, well, I got to figure something else out. We're no longer on the tour bus as it was, so I had to get a job. I bought a car, I rented an apartment, all still while not talking. My bosses were cool with it. They're like, all right, somebody who's not going to talk back, we like that. We'll accept that. And then during all that, because I failed to mention, during the time that I wasn't talking, I threw my phone away. I didn't want any kind of outside distractions from the goal, from the purpose of what I was doing. But then after I had to kind of rejoin society as it was, I reconnected with my future wife. And then we went on one date or something, and then we ended up both happening to be at another festival. The band got like an extra gig randomly. Oh, sweet, let's do that. And we were connected there. The band had to leave for some wild, weird reason. The promoters and them got into a fight. Like, oh, but Bhakti can stay. And I was like, okay, sure, whatever. So I helped her with the booth that she was selling things at with that. Afterwards, we decided to kind of like decompress for a couple days. We went to Vegas. I asked her to marry me. I still wasn't talking. We got married.
How did you ask her? How did you ask her?
She understood. So we eloped, and then I came back to the desert, and then I gained a son from that, and a mother, and it was amazing. And the transformation had happened from within me, and so I started attracting all these similar vibrational things like Brianna and Nolan and Josie. So I found my family. So we continued as a family. I still wasn't talking, right? And so Nolan did not actually know my voice, and he only knew when I was trying to tell him to do something like, we would play the game, and he'd be like, is this what you're trying to say? Is that what you're trying to say? Usually it wasn't quite right on, but when he would get so excited and so happy. So that was kind of fun for him, I think. And then when I finally did start talking, the year of silence, it was done. And then I started talking to people, and then I was perplexed. Like, how did they understand me? What? Oh, that's right. We can all hear what I'm saying now at this point. So there was kind of a transitional time where I was in disbelief that the things, the inner thinking that I had now being able to be projected, people could actually understand me. But so much had changed in that year, and things gradually changed that I didn't actually know until kind of reflection later what had happened. So my perspective obviously had drastically shifted. My inner dialogue drastically shifted. No longer did it matter the little things that I wanted to say to somebody. It was now, okay, if it's worthy of trying to pantomime it out, then it's worthy of kind of saying it. If it's not worthy, like, oh, it's kind of cold out, or this guy's doing its thing, none of that mattered really. So after that, started seeking new skills. Brianna and I became Reiki masters. I started reading the Akashic Records for others. We opened our wellness center. We started having retreats. We decided to get some sound instruments and started doing sound baths for people. Recently we started doing ecstatic dance for people as well. Brianna's now the DJ for that while I play live instrumentation. And one of those instruments, the shakuhachi, that's the Japanese bamboo flute. It's used a lot by Buddhist monks. I was gifted one by the son of a Buddhist monk, and he said that his mom struggled with playing the instrument. It was one of her biggest frustrations. He asked me to play it one time. I picked it up, I played it. He was amazed. He's like, this is yours, take it. Use this as part of your love journey that you're going on to help spread love and awareness for other people. And so that's kind of the whole timeline of things as it was. And yeah, the main thing that I kind of took away from it was I needed to do something that was spirituality in action. I needed to find that silence that we heard about earlier in action. I needed to do something. That was my something for it. I don't recommend that all of you do that, but taking the time to maybe reflect more or to listen more, you'll have the people that need to say the things you need to hear just kind of come around. So many people would come up to me and they would share their secrets with me, but they'd also share their wisdoms. Having knowledge is not enough, right? You have to put it into action. Same thing with most of the things that we do with our private practices. It's not just enough to know about, oh, I should ground, I should do yoga, I should meditate, I should visualize. Yes, we should all visualize. If we don't do those things though, then we're holding ourselves back.
Mm-hmm.